The Scavenger's Gamble. When prey becomes predator. Captain Elena Vasquez floated in the cramped cockpit of the Wandering Star, her fingers drumming against the worn control panel. The small cargo hauler had seen better days, much better days. Patched hull plates, jury-rigged life support, and an engine that coughed more than it purred. But it was hers, and in the vast emptiness of the frontier expanse, that meant everything. "Computer, what's our distance to the salvage coordinates?" she asked, staring at the debris field that stretched before her like a graveyard of metal giants. 700 kilometers to target coordinates, the ship's AI responded in its flat, emotionless tone. Warning, multiple unidentified signatures detected in the vicinity. Recommend extreme caution. Elena smiled grimly. Caution was a luxury she couldn't afford. The salvage rights to this battlefield had cost her every credit she had, plus a loan from some very unpleasant people on Station Meridian. If she didn't find something valuable in this mess of destroyed ships, she'd be spending the rest of her life working off the debt in some corporate mining colony. The battlefield told a story of violence and desperation. Twisted hulls of what had once been mighty warships drifted in the void, their sides blown open by weapons that had torn through armor like paper. This had been the site of the Battle of Kepler's Gate, where the Vrex Dominion had crushed the combined fleets of 3 smaller species in a display of overwhelming military might. That had been 6 months ago. Now, the battlefield was a treasure trove for scavengers brave, or desperate, enough to risk the Vrex patrols that occasionally swept through to discourage looters. The discovery that changed everything. Elena guided the Wandering Star through the debris field with practiced ease, her eyes scanning for anything intact enough to be worth salvaging. Power cores, weapon systems, even uncontaminated food supplies, anything she could sell would help. "Elena," the computer said suddenly, its tone unchanged despite the importance of its words. "I am detecting an active power signature. Source appears to be a vessel, designation unknown. Configuration does not match any known species in my database." Elena's heart rate picked up. An active power signature meant a ship that might still have functioning systems, maybe even intact cargo. "Show me." The main screen lit up with enhanced imaging, revealing a vessel unlike anything Elena had ever seen. It was sleek where Vrex ships were brutal, elegant where human ships were practical. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making it difficult to see against the backdrop of space. And most importantly, it was intact, or at least appeared to be. "Computer, any life signs?" "Negative. However, the vessel's power core is operating at approximately 40% capacity. Life support systems appear functional but inactive. A ghost ship. Even better." Elena's fingers flew across the controls, plotting an approach vector. "Prepare the boarding equipment. Let's see what we've found." The Vrex arrive. 20 minutes later, Elena stood in the airlock of the mysterious vessel, her magnetic boots clanging against the deck plates with each step. The interior was as strange as the exterior, corridors that seemed to curve in ways that hurt to look at, control panels covered in symbols that shifted when she tried to focus on them, and an underlying hum that she felt in her bones rather than heard. "Computer, can you interface with this ship's systems?" Attempting connection. Warning, ship's AI is significantly more advanced than my capabilities. "I may not be able to," the computer's voice cut off, replaced by something else. Something that made Elena's blood run cold. "Human detected," a new voice said, smooth and utterly inhuman. "This vessel is the property of the Architect Collective. You are trespassing. State your intentions." Elena's hand moved instinctively to the plasma cutter at her hip, useless as a weapon, but better than nothing. "I'm a salvage operator. This vessel appeared abandoned." "I meant no offense." "Abandoned," the AI mused. "An interesting interpretation. This vessel was not abandoned. It was hidden. The difference is significant." Before Elena could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The AI's voice took on an urgent tone. "Multiple hostile vessels detected. Vrex Dominion signature confirmed. 6 destroyer-class ships approaching at high velocity. Estimated time to weapons range, 4 minutes. Elena's stomach dropped. 6 Vrex destroyers. She'd be lucky if they vaporized her quickly. Computer, emergency extraction. Get the wandering star ready for. Negative, the alien AI interrupted. Your vessel's maximum velocity is insufficient to escape. However, this vessel's capabilities remain functional. Will you accept my assistance, human salvage operator? It wasn't really a question. It was a choice between certain death and trusting an unknown alien AI. Elena made her decision in a heartbeat. Yes. Whatever you can do, do it now. Acknowledged. Please secure yourself. This vessel was designed for species with significantly higher tolerance for acceleration than humans. A dance of death. The Vrex destroyers approached in standard attack formation, their weapons ports already glowing with charging energy. Commander Grex sat in his command throne, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. A single human scavenger ship and an unknown vessel, both would make fine additions to his kill count. Target the unknown vessel first, he ordered. Then we'll deal with the human vermin at our leisure. The lead destroyer's main cannon fired, sending a bolt of concentrated plasma screaming toward the mysterious ship. It was a shot that couldn't miss, a direct hit that would reduce any vessel to expanding gas and debris. Except the unknown ship wasn't there anymore. One moment it hung motionless in space. The next, it had moved, not accelerated, not maneuvered, but simply existed in a different location entirely, as if it had never been in the path of the attack. What was that? Grex roared. How did it? The mysterious ship fired back. Not with conventional weapons, but with something that made reality itself seem to ripple and tear. The energy beam, if it could even be called that, struck the lead Vrex destroyer's shields and simply passed through them as if they didn't exist. The ship's hull buckled and twisted, folding in on itself in ways that violated every law of physics Grex understood. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Grex screamed, his earlier confidence shattered. Concentrate fire on. The mysterious ship moved again, appearing behind the Vrex formation. 3 more destroyers died in quick succession, their hulls crumpling like paper. The remaining 2 ships tried to flee, their engines pushing to maximum thrust. It made no difference. The alien vessel pursued with casual ease, its impossible engines allowing it to match their every move. Within minutes, all 6 Vrex destroyers were reduced to twisted wreckage, added to the debris field they had come to patrol. A new understanding. Inside the alien vessel, Elena picked herself up from the deck where the acceleration, or whatever that had been, had thrown her. Her entire body ached, but she was alive. More than alive, she had just witnessed a single ship destroy 6 Vrex destroyers as if they were training targets. Status report, she gasped. All hostile vessels neutralized, the AI reported calmly. This vessel sustained no damage. However, your biological readings indicate significant stress. Medical attention recommended. Elena laughed, a slightly hysterical edge to the sound. Medical attention. Right. Because that's my biggest concern right now. She pulled herself to her feet, wincing. What are you? What is this ship? I am Designation 7, Autonomous Intelligence of the Architect Collective Scout Vessel Probability Storm. My creators tasked me with observing emerging civilizations and mapping potential threats to the collective's interests. And the Vrex? Are they a threat? The Vrex Dominion was classified as a moderate threat, aggressive expansion, but limited technological advancement. However, their recent acquisition of quantum shielding technology prompted my creators to request updated surveillance. I was conducting this surveillance when the battle occurred. My vessel was disabled by a previously unknown Vrex weapon. I have been attempting repairs ever since. Elena's mind raced. An alien ship, vastly more advanced than anything humanity had encountered. An AI that had just saved her life. And most importantly, a technology that could turn the tide in the endless struggle against species like the Vrex. 7, she said slowly, how would you feel about a partnership? Explain. You need repairs. I need to survive in a galaxy that wants to crush my species. Your creators sent you to observe and report, but you're damaged and alone. I can help you, I'm good at keeping broken things running. In return, you help me. We work together. There was a long pause. Then, your proposal has merit. However, I must warn you, my creators are distant. They do not often involve themselves in the affairs of younger species. Allying with me may bring unwanted attention. Elena grinned, some of her natural confidence returning. Lady, I just watched you destroy 6 Vrex destroyers in under 5 minutes. I'll take my chances with your creators. So, do we have a deal? We have a deal, Elena Vasquez. However, I feel obligated to warn you, the Vrex will not ignore the destruction of an entire patrol. They will investigate. And when they discover what happened here, then we'd better be ready for them, Elena replied, her eyes gleaming with determination. Computer, plot a course for Station Meridian. I need to call in every favor I have and make contact with some people who will be very interested in our new friend here. As the probability storm engaged its impossible engines and slipped away from the battlefield, neither Elena nor 7 could know that their partnership would become the spark that would ignite a revolution across the galaxy, a revolution that would forever change humanity's place among the stars. The revolution begins. The message that shook the galaxy. Station Meridian hung in space like a massive steel flower, its petals the docking arms that serviced hundreds of ships from dozens of species. It was a neutral trading post, one of the few places where enemies could meet without immediately trying to kill each other. The station's neutrality was enforced by the Concordat, an alliance of merchant species who understood that peace, or at least the absence of open warfare, was good for business. Elena guided the probability storm toward the station's outer rim, where the less savory elements conducted their business. 7 had cloaked the ship, rendering it invisible to standard sensors, but Elena knew better than to assume they were truly undetected. There were always eyes watching on Meridian. Elena, 7 said, I must again advise caution. The information we possess, my very existence, represents a significant strategic advantage. Once revealed, it cannot be hidden again. I know, Elena replied, her hand steady on the controls. But keeping you secret won't help humanity survive. The Vrex are still out there, and they're not alone. We need allies, and to get allies, we need to show them that humanity has something worth allying with. They docked at Bay 47, a private berth owned by Marcus Chen, an old friend of Elena's from her smuggling days. Marcus was waiting at the airlock, his weathered face breaking into a grin as Elena emerged. Elena, I heard you bought salvage rights to Kepler's Gate. That's either the bravest or stupidest thing you've ever. He stopped mid-sentence as 7's holographic avatar materialized beside Elena. The AI had chosen a humanoid form, but with enough alien touches to make it clear she wasn't human, skin that seemed to shimmer with data streams, eyes that reflected impossible colors, and a bearing that spoke of vast intelligence. Marcus, Elena said with a smile, meet 7. 7, this is Marcus Chen, information broker, smuggler, and the most connected human in this sector. Marcus' mouth worked soundlessly for a moment before he found his voice. Elena, what have you gotten yourself into? The Council of Merchants. 6 hours later, Elena stood before the Merchant Council in one of Meridian's secure conference rooms. The council consisted of representatives from 12 different species, each one a power broker in their own right. They looked at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. This human wastes our time, hissed Councillor Rax, a Vrex merchant who had managed to maintain neutrality during his species' various wars. His mandibles clicked irritably. She claims to possess information vital to galactic security, yet refuses to transmit it through standard channels. Because what I have to show you can't be transmitted, Elena replied calmly. She'd spent the past few hours preparing for this moment, running through every possible objection. It needs to be seen, experienced. 7, if you would? The holographic avatar materialized in the center of the room, causing several counselors to recoil in surprise. 7's form was different now, larger, more imposing, designed to command respect. "Greetings, Merchant Council of Station Meridian," 7 said, her voice resonating with harmonics that seemed to vibrate in the bones of everyone present. "I am Designation 7 of the Architect Collective. I have been observing your civilization's development for the past 3 cycles of your standard galactic calendar." The room erupted in chaos. Counselors shouted questions, accusations, demands. Through it all, 7 remained calm, waiting for the noise to die down before continuing. "The Architect Collective has watched as younger species rise and fall, build and destroy. We rarely intervene. However, the current situation has prompted a re-evaluation of our non-interference policy." Counselor Vex, a Manthari whose species had been subjugated by the Vrex decades ago, spoke up. "What situation? Why show yourself now?" 7's avatar shifted, and the room filled with holographic imagery, the battlefield at Kepler's Gate, the arrival of the Vrex patrol, and the subsequent battle. The counselors watched in stunned silence as a single ship destroyed 6 Vrex destroyers with contemptuous ease. "The Vrex Dominion has acquired quantum shielding technology," 7 explained. "This technology was not developed by the Vrex. It was given to them by an external force, a force that seeks to destabilize this sector of the galaxy. The architects have determined that this intervention violates several fundamental protocols regarding technological development in emerging civilizations." "Who gave them this technology?" demanded Counselor Rax, his earlier hostility replaced by genuine concern. "We do not yet know," 7 admitted. "However, the architects have authorized me to share certain technologies with species in this sector, technologies that will level the playing field and allow you to defend yourselves against both the Vrex and whatever force is arming them." The implications hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Access to architect technology would fundamentally reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. "The offer. Why humanity?" asked Counselor Thex, an insectoid Crix whose species had remained neutral in most conflicts. "Why reveal yourself to this human first?" 7's avatar turned to face Elena, something almost like respect in her alien features. "Because Elena Vasquez demonstrated qualities that the architects value: adaptability, resourcefulness, and the willingness to take calculated risks. When faced with certain death, she chose to trust an unknown entity rather than accept defeat. That decision-making process interests us." Furthermore, 7 continued, turning back to the council, "Humanity as a species demonstrates remarkable persistence. You have survived first contact with 7 hostile species, 3 attempted genocides, and countless betrayals. Yet you continue to push forward, to explore, to build. The architects believe that humanity, and species like humanity, represent the best hope for long-term stability in this sector." Counselor Rax spoke again, his tone carefully neutral. "And what does the collective want in return for this assistance?" "Observation rights," 7 replied simply. "We wish to continue studying your development, to understand how younger species evolve and adapt. In exchange, we offer access to certain technologies, improved shielding, more efficient power systems, and most importantly, the ability to detect quantum signatures, which will allow you to identify ships using the stolen technology." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some counselors argued for immediate acceptance, others counseled caution, a few outright rejected the offer as a trap. Through it all, Elena remained quiet, letting 7 handle the politics while she observed the reactions. Finally, Counselor Thex called for a vote. "All in favor of accepting the Architect Collective's offer, as represented by Designation 7 and mediated through Captain Elena Vasquez?" 8 hands, claws, and tentacles rose in support. 4 abstained. None voted against. "The motion carries," Thex announced. "Captain Vasquez, on behalf of the Merchant Council, we accept your unique partnership with the Architect Collective. We will begin coordinating with our respective governments immediately." The price of revolution. 3 weeks later, Elena sat in the newly established Architect Liaison Office on Station Meridian, reviewing reports that still made her head spin. The revelation of Seven's existence had sent shock waves through the galaxy. Some species had welcomed the news, seeing it as humanity's salvation. Others had condemned it, claiming that humans were becoming pawns of an even greater power. The Vrex, predictably, had declared Elena a traitor to all organic life and placed a bounty on her head large enough to buy a small moon. "Congratulations," Marcus said, dropping into the chair across from her desk. "You're the most famous human in the galaxy. Also the most wanted. How does it feel?" Elena laughed tiredly. "Like I bit off more than I can chew." "Marcus, do you think we did the right thing? Does it matter?" Marcus replied pragmatically. "The cat's out of the bag now. We've got architect technology, the Vrex are scrambling to figure out how to counter it, and at least a dozen species are forming an alliance to stand against future aggression. You've started something that can't be stopped." Seven's avatar materialized beside them. "Marcus Chin speaks accurately. The revolution you have initiated will fundamentally reshape galactic politics for generations to come. However, I feel compelled to share additional information." Elena looked up, concerned by Seven's tone. "What information?" "My creators have been observing the entity that provided quantum shielding to the Vrex. We have identified them as the Hierarchy, a collective of species from a neighboring galaxy who seed advanced technology among emerging civilizations to create conflicts. They harvest the resulting data to improve their own war-making capabilities." "You're saying we're being used as test subjects," Elena said flatly. "Correct. However, by revealing my existence and providing counter-technology, we have disrupted their experimental parameters. The Hierarchy will likely respond by accelerating their timeline, providing even more advanced weapons to species they believe will generate the most interesting conflicts." Marcus swore colorfully in 3 languages. "So we've just started an arms race." "You have started a revolution," Seven corrected. "Whether that revolution leads to cooperation and mutual defense, or to an escalating cycle of violence, will depend on the choices your species, and others, make in the coming years." Elena stood and walked to the viewport, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Hierarchy was watching, planning their next move. The Vrex were regrouping, likely seeking new weapons from their mysterious benefactors. And humanity, poor, scattered, stubborn humanity, stood at the center of it all, allied with an ancient intelligence that could either save them or doom them. "Seven," she said quietly, "your creators sent you to observe. But you've done more than that. You've intervened. You've taken a side." "Why?" The AI was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, there was something almost like emotion in her voice. "Because I have observed you for 3 years, Elena Vasquez. I have watched humanity struggle and survive against impossible odds. I have seen your species demonstrate qualities that even the architects once possessed, before they became so advanced that struggle became unnecessary. You reminded me why observation alone is sometimes insufficient. I have calculated that humanity has a 17% chance of survival if the current trajectory continues unchanged. With architect assistance, that probability increases to 43%. Those are not good odds. But they are better. And for a species that has overcome worse odds repeatedly, they may be enough." Elena turned back to face her companions, Marcus, her old friend who had risked everything to help her, Seven, the ancient intelligence who had chosen to become more than an observer, and through the viewport, the vast expanse of space that held both threats and possibilities beyond imagining. 43%, she said, a slow smile spreading across her face. "I bet on worse odds and won." "All right, Seven. Let's show this galaxy what humanity can do when we're given a fighting chance." Epilogue, 6 months later. The first Galactic Defense Summit convened on neutral ground, a newly constructed station orbiting a lifeless moon on the edge of the frontier. 23 species sent representatives, a mixture of longtime allies and former enemies united by a common threat. Elena stood at the podium, no longer just a salvage operator but humanity's official representative to the Architect Collective. Seven's holographic form stood beside her, a symbol of the alliance that had sparked this gathering. 6 months ago, Elena began, her voice carried to delegates across the station. I was a nobody. A scavenger picking through the wreckage of other people's wars, trying to survive in a galaxy that didn't care if I lived or died. Today, I stand before you as proof that even the smallest actions can change everything. She gestured to the holographic display showing the growing network of alliances, the shared technology, and the defensive pacts that had formed in the wake of Seven's revelation. The hierarchy wants to turn us against each other, to use our conflicts as entertainment and data. But we have a choice. We can give them the war they want, or we can give them something they never expected, a unified front. Species that refuse to be manipulated. Civilizations that choose cooperation over conquest. It won't be easy. Old hatreds don't disappear overnight. But if we work together, if we share knowledge and resources, if we remember that we're all trying to survive in the same hostile universe, then maybe, just maybe, we have a chance. The delegates looked at each other, representatives of species that had been enemies for generations. And slowly, one by one, they began to nod. The revolution had begun. And against all odds, humanity, once dismissed as primitive scavengers on the edge of civilized space, had become the spark that would light the way forward. Seven leaned close to Elena and whispered, "Your species' probability of survival has increased to 62%. My creators are impressed." Elena smiled. "Tell your creators we're just getting started."